Y'all, I'm not in the kitchen today. I am bringing y'all somewhere here in Savannah that I think y'all would love to see, especially the times that we're living in now. You know, we're really, really loving our military people as they should be loved. So I am bringing y'all down to Webb Military Museum. And it's located on York Street. And I'm fixing to go in and talk with the owner, Gary Webb, who has spent his whole life collecting things that are military. So come on in and meet Gary. Gary?
Hey, Paula, thanks for coming.
Oh,
welcome.
Thank you for having me.
It's an honor to have you.
I'm embarrassed to say I moved here in 1987, and I've never been in your museum.
Well, we've only been open 10 years, so.
Well, I've been missing a lot.
Well, come on. Well, you've been a busy girl, too.
I have been a little busy.
Well, come on over here. Let me tell you about Webb Military Museum.
Y'all look around.
All right.
Hey, guys. How are y'all?
Okay, Paula, don't go anywhere because that's my hat.
Oh,
That's my hat, and that's how I give my lecture.
No, we'll put it on, honey.
Okay, this is Webb Military Museum, and we call it Webb Military Museum because I'm Gary Webb, and everything in this museum belongs to me. It's a 3,000 square foot horse barn that I gutted and built out and features artifacts that I've collected my whole life. The museum will span from the Civil War all to the Cold War. And we have a different narrative.
The Civil War,
Indian War period, Spanish-American War, World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, and the Cold War. And we have
I thought you said the Cold War.
And thereon. We have a different narrative. We don't talk about politics, government wars. We talk about honoring men and women.
That's great.
All nations, all conflicts. My mission statement wall will tell you that I had great parents. My father was an Air Force officer for 35 years, a veteran of 2 wars, but it would be my mother who got me interested in history.
Your mother, she was a beautiful, beautiful woman, wasn't she?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I see why your daddy fell for her.
Well, my parents were not war brides. My mother and father were pen pals. After the war, my dad came back from the Pacific, and when he was in the Pentagon, he met a woman who was my mother's cousin, and she talked him into writing her cousin in London, my mother, because she said they're all burned out, they're all bombed out, they're still on rations. So he wrote her for 3 years, and after 3 years, he wrote her and asked her if he sends the money, would you come to America? And of course, my grandfather thought that was a terrible idea, and he said, well, what's wrong with the blokes in London? And my mother said, there are no blokes in London. A whole generation of people are gone. So he allowed her to come to America as long as she came back.
And how old was she at that time?
She was 21, 22.
Okay, so she was a grown woman.
Yeah, but it was a 10-day trip, 7 days on a boat, and 3 days on a train to Amarillo, Texas. My dad had gotten his commission, and so once they arrived, this is the photo my mother sent to my father. My father never sent a photo. He sent a photo of him next to a nice car.
Now, that's your mother.
And that's my father, yeah.
Okay, so she sent him this picture. Now, I don't understand that.
This picture here.
That's
the picture she sent.
So he knew what she looked like.
But she didn't know what he looked like. So, but it must have worked because they were married 6 months later in Clovis, New Mexico, and they stayed married for 52 years till my mother passed away, and they're both buried at Arlington Cemetery. And of course, my father was an Air Force officer, a veteran of 2 wars, 35 years, but my mother was born in London, and so I spent 10 years in Europe growing up, and so she had great wartime stories.
Well, and I bet at that time in life as a child, you got to live a very unusual, exciting,
I lived in 15 cities, 4 countries, 7 states, before I was 22.
How many languages do you speak?
I speak English pretty well. German's not bad, and my Norwegian's horrible. All right, that's a map of London, Paula, and every red dot's a bomb.
No.
My mother's house is right there.
No.
Yes, sir. That's nice.
Did her house ever get bombed?
Oh yeah. In fact, here's a photograph.
And what year would that have been?
Well, 1940 to 45. She stayed in London the whole 5 years. She did not go to the country. But that's a picture of my mother holding her gas mask with a fair-haired Uncle Fred.
Where did you find all this stuff?
You know, I get that question every day. I started collecting stuff as a 10-year-old kid living in Germany. And I would actually go in the woods and find stuff.
I read that.
And I you go to flea market. Everything was cheap back then because I always tell people, if I bought a helmet for $20. When I was 15, when I was $25, it was worth $20. Nothing went up. But anniversaries happening. And I noticed and September 1st, 1989 was the 50th anniversary of the German invasion of Poland. Over the next years, everything in World War II went up 10, 20, 30 times. Yeah. So all of a sudden, a $25 German helmet is now worth $250. And I had 50 German helmets.
Oh my God.
German uniforms went from $100 to $1,000.
So have you had anybody come in and put a value on all your things in case of, I don't even want to say the word.
Yeah, I've got it all itemized with value.
Like fire.
But like every as the years go by, it goes up. Now, when my father was in Vietnam in 68, 69, when he came back from Vietnam, I got interested in the Vietnam conflicts. I was 13 years old. But nobody was buying that but me. But what happens? Rambo movies.
Yes,
and that's all that stuff. So this has been a really good investment because you have to have money in the bank. You need to have savings, and we do all that. But I put 3 kids through private school and college with this. I need a tuition payment. I sell a hat, you know? But
sell a hat.
My museum starts with the Civil War. Now, I want to point out some really
Have you ever sold anything, Gary, that you regret?
Not really.
Okay,
Not
good.
really. I've never, if I sold something, I try not to sell the name stuff, but, stuff is stuff. So I don't sell. And I can't keep it all. And you can't keep it all. But a couple interesting things in this museum is, you see the Carte de Vista signed by Robert E. Lee? There.
Yes.
Okay, you know
it says Robert E. Lee. Oh, okay. It tells us.
Yeah, below that. If you notice, Paula, he's in civilian clothes. You never see Robert E. Lee Carte de Vista in civilian clothes. But in 1866, after the war, he goes to D.C. and meets with Matthew Brady, and he has that photograph taken. A year later, he comes to Savannah, and he gives it to a girl named Sarah Minus. Sarah Minus was his girlfriend in 1853. So if you're going to have one, you might as well have the one he gives to his ex-girlfriend, right?
Yes.
Absolutely.
And where in the world did you find that?
That was another story we won't get.
Okay.
We're finding stuff. I have a real good way of routing things up, rooting things up.
We could film all day because, I'd love to know now, where did you get that?
Well, yeah. Well, hey, where did you get a Russian plane, Paula? I have a Russian MiG.
No.
That's a MiG-21 cockpit.
No.
You know how hard that is to get and sneak past your wife? That's really hard. I've got a step. Yeah, that's here. It's the Formula jet in Vietnam. See, I have where here this breaks here, where the wings break here. That, and this is the nose cone to it and everything. Isn't that cool?
So that went on the front.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
I don't think I'd grown this like 20 years and everything.
No.
And this was like I said, this was a horse barn that I gutted out and built out. So the double doors allowed me to put the MiG in here and then design it, because everything here is designed by me. I dressed every mannequin and I typed every plaque. But we're going to stroll around with the film, because one day you want to come back and really spend some time.
I do.
And I have
I do.
So the next conflict is the Indian War period, which was a period between...
Wait, say that again.
The Indian War period was the period between...
Indian Wars, 1866.
The Civil War and the Spanish-American War. But this is a saddle that came out of the battlefield at Custer's last stand.
No.
Yeah, it's still marked. You can't see it very well, but it says 7C M Company.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I see.
Now, it's same with this. This is a Spanish-American War era, and this is another Savannah's Colonel Shelby Myrick's uniform rig. This Spanish-American War started when the USS Maine exploded in Havana Harbor. It was probably a boiler that went off, but we blamed the Spaniards because we wanted Cuba out of our hemisphere. So we took Cuba, but we also took Wake Island, Guam, Puerto Rico, I believe, and the Philippines, which would come back and bite us, Pearl Harbor. But this is a part of a bowl hammered out of some of the metal from the USS Maine. And the Navy flat hat belonged to George Miller. It says USS Maine. He was killed.
Were you talking about the book or the bowl?
The bowl. All
right. So now tell me about that bowl one more time. I was thinking you were talking about the book.
Some of the metal from the...
This is beautiful.
Yeah, some of the metal from the USS Maine was... This was hammered out into a bowl with a little citation ungiven to somebody. So it's actually part of the Maine. George Miller is still missing in action, but that's his USS Maine hat.
So he was never found.
Never found.
Gary, I can't get close enough to read that. So tell me about
story. This belonged to one of my neighbors where I lived with my Charlotte. He was a direct descendant of Lincoln. But when I bought the image, all you could see was this part. When I went to clean it and I pulled the paper out, this dropped down, which had been folded over.
Picture.
This piece of paper fell down. And it was hidden for 100 years. And the information says, went west during the gold rush of 1849, age 20. Well, that means this picture was taken in 1849.
Yeah.
Never heard from again, supposedly killed by Indians. Why would you hide the best part? But a fascinating ambrotype. And this is World War I now, and this is a fascinating illustration because this is the illustration that came out in 1918 in the Ladies' Home Journal, which was a tabloid-sized paper. A year later, Erwin Schwalbe would paint the painting, which hung in the Manhattan Museum for 70 years, returned to the Schwalbe family, who sold it to an art dealer, and I bought it from her, which I have the painting up front.
Oh, well, I want to make sure I get a glance at it, okay?
Now, and this is one of Eddie Rickenbacher's uniform. He was the top American ace. Also, he was the highest decorated American soldier, the Audie Murphy of World War I. But this is one of his uniforms with his wings. I have 3 signatures. One's inside the jacket and 2 are here.
Wow.
Paula, my favorite case, getting to we're leaving World War I, is getting to the Battle of Britain, because this is my mother's gas mask.
The Battle of Britain.
Battle of Britain. This is my mother's gas mask.
That is your mother's gas mask.
They came in boxes, but girls did not like it. They liked the leather case. There's a picture of when she was 17 carrying it with her friends, okay? Now, the Germans never did gas, but you had to have a gas mask for everything you did. So this gives you an idea. These are for 3- and 4-year-old children. These are for teenagers, but that's for an infant. An infant.
The big one?
Yeah, you can see it. This gives it in clarity there.
Oh my gosh. Look at
that kind of, you have to put the right in there. And you have to pump it too. So there's a horrific thing to have to drag around. These were my granddad's fire brigade helmets and his unit. HR just meant heavy rescue. My grandfather was 35 years old when the war started. Beautiful dark hair. My mother said 6 months into the war, it turned white and it never came back. And the bombed out building, my mother's house, is 4 doors to the right. And that's the first month of the heavy bombing. So you can obviously see how she grew up. And
that was in London.
London, yeah. Everything's in London, yeah. Now, again, my mother had German relatives too, but there's a lot of great side stories on all my mother's stories.
All right, this is your mother's.
These are Girl Scout uniforms.
Girl Scout.
Those are Girl Scout, because we have the Girl Scouts in Savannah, Georgia.
That's right.
So, but my mother was a Girl Guide. But the significance is, in 1930 vintage uniforms, they had zippers. When the war started, the government needed zippers, so they went to buttons. So actually, Girl Scouts helped the war effort. So that's why they're in there. And of course, we do Girl Scout tours here also.
Yes, yes. We have a lot of Girl Scout groups come into the restaurant.
Now, when we get to the Pacific, these are fantastic. I have a lot of Pearl Harbor stuff. This is an actual complete truck off the USS Oklahoma. And this is pieces of the USS Arizona. And this is a hat, a naval hat. It says US Arizona, but I also have one of the Downs, California, and the Pennsylvania. I've got a lot of Pearl Harbor stuff, which is extremely rare. Even the Christmas dinner menu. You'd like to.
No.
But if you notice, it has great stuff in here. But the
oyster stew.
Yeah. Cigars, cigarettes.
Oh my gosh, relishes.
If you're familiar with Gloria Steinem, the feminist from the 60s, these are her aunt's uniforms here. Those are 2 of her. She was a WAS, and you see how small these women uniforms are. Unbelievable. Yeah. Everything is so tiny.
Small women.
Now in my museum, when people come in, we do a scavenger hunt. I allow them to take photos, and I have a selfie booth here, which people can come, put on a hat if they like.
Oh my God.
Stand next to the dummy like this, you know.
Okay, I want one.
Yeah, put a hat on.
All right, which hat should I put on?
I want to put my dad's hat on. Here,
okay.
Put a good, here's a female hat if you like.
Okay.
There you go. And, people can have fun. Kids like to do it. I try to get kids interactive.
All right, are we going to stand?
If we can.
Yes.
Teresa can get us in here with this guy here. He's from Vietnam. So you can take pictures, enjoy the hats, and if I can engage children to get them an interest, it really is nice. Now, we have the 8th Air Force Museum in Savannah, Georgia. This is my 8th Air Force.
The Mighty 8.
And I have some stuff that belonged to Frank O'Driscoll Hunter. And this particular uniform belonged to a man in the 445th Bomb Group. When I got his uniform grouping, I got his post-war yearbook. That's the same one that Jimmy Stewart the actor was in. So in the book, Stewart autographs his photograph, and I have 2 or 3 unpublished photographs of Jimmy Stewart, which is he was the real deal. He went on 20 combat missions.
Wow.
And all that.
Wow.
And of course,
now this what is up with?
See the picture behind it?
Oh yes.
Yeah. When he passed away, his daughter, I believe, sold that to me. She said her older brother, wanted to be just like his father. So the mother sewed that up into the 5 and dine and got the hat. But she put all original insignia on, and there's a photo of him wearing it like that.
Oh.
You know. I like that because, we used to dress kids up.
You know, Gary, I feel so privileged to have come in here today and talk to you because some museum folks made the comment to you that what did they say about you? They've seen a lot of...
Oh, yeah. The museum curators have said, we have a museum, but we have just stuff in it. You have a museum with emotion in it.
You do.
And people come in here and, everybody has a connection with the military one way or the other.
Right.
And for a lot of, veterans, they like it because we honor them here. And it's not just stuff with... the museum curator from the Verdun Museum, a French guy came in, and he told me, we have a museum in Verdun, and I'm the curator, but it's boring. It's full of statistics. It's full of battle plans. He says, I come in your museum and I want to cry.
I know.
Your friends do a lot of that too,
I know. I mean, it's real. And the fact that you don't mind people touching.
Yeah, no, I have it out for them to do because people do that in my house. And like I said, all the, the concentration camp stuff, all original too and everything.
That was what they wore in the concentration camp.
Yes. Yeah, my mother's uncle was sent to Dachau concentration for saying something negative about Hitler. His number was 93012. So, and again, all these when you have a name to it, it really makes it come to life and everything.
Right.
And this is this is James Keller.
It's just like you knew all these people personally.
Well, when you have their diaries, you can read their diaries. And
oh my God.
That makes a difference. Some of the
What's the most interesting diary
the one
you've ever read?
The one over here. This aviator, he's a gunner on a top turret gunner on a B-24, and he writes in his diary on his 10th mission, flak intense, bursting all around us, only by the grace of God, no hits. Saw mid-air collision, both ships burst into flames. Fellas did have a chance. That's 20 men falling out of the sky that were his friends. And that's his 10th mission. He gets on the plane 30 more times for 40 missions. I mean, one mission's got to rally you.
Did he live through all the missions?
He did. And he lived to be 84 years old, and I purchased from the family. But when you read these diaries, they're hair-raising because you go on one mission, that's the last thing you want to do, but you got to go on 40 missions and witnessing things like that. And this is a 21-year-old kid. It's amazing.
Wow.
That these kids put to.
Yeah, and these men and women that come back after seeing horrendous things like that, the postpartum depression.
Yeah, I mean, funny, my mother never exhibited any PTSD, and I never heard my mother say an unkind word, which is unusual. But that was the world she lived in.
It's because I'm sure she had plenty of unkind words she could have said.
Some of the stories I can't even repeat.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, they're too horrific.
They're what?
Too horrific.
Too horrific.
Yeah. What she saw.
That she shared with you.
Now, I had great Vietnam stuff.
Did your mother ever write a book?
Well, I tried for years to let her record her, like with the old camcorders and stuff. And then, she liked to talk, but she didn't like to be recorded. So I gave her one of those blank books with those blank pages. And as she's passed away, I found it, but 20 pages had been torn out. I guess she started and ripped that start. So I don't know. But I did find a little cassette, and it said the Battle of Britain, and there's an hour and a half of her talking about her. So I made DVDs and gave it to my brothers and sisters.
Oh, good.
But, people don't think about recording this stuff. I record it on my head. And like this Vietnam.
And that's great for people like you that have a good memory. But as we start getting older, sometimes our memory is.
I did not get one World War II vet in this year. I usually get one or two, but they're just getting older and all that.
Right.
But this is Westmoreland's uniform, the McAfee commander in Vietnam, and that's him. That's him with the LBJ in Vietnam.
Yes.
That's that. He's wearing the same shirt too, which is great. And all the stuff in the Vietnam is really cool because they're either featured in books, like this guy, he's featured in the book The Raid. He was part of the Sante raid. This is Rick Swafford. He's featured in the books that tell us a good cheap. And this is the Bob Hope stuff that from a 68, 69 tour.
No.
I bought a lot of this stuff before the internet. So when the internet came up, I Googled Bob Hope, and there's old pictures of him with him. But what's really spectacular is how it's a really small world when you find. I bought this helmet from a man who cleans out houses in Atlanta. It had his name on it. William James Bashir was shot down over Laos in May of '69. He's still missing in action. But he flew out of Cam Ranh Bay, South Vietnam with the 12th Tactical Fighter Wing as a major. My father was a major at Cam Ranh Bay with the 12th Tactical Fighter Wing in May of '69. My dad had to know him. But Paul, once we leave Vietnam, we can't keep up with all the conflicts and wars, but I ended here with the Cold War period and also beyond. But that's my brother's uniform. He was in the first Gulf War and his visor to the Saudis. So his name's in Arabic and English, and he wears the rank of major and the crown of it. And as you may know, we have the 1st Ranger Battalion in Savannah. Well, 35 years, well, we have the 1st Ranger. 35 years ago, the 1st Battalion Rangers parachuted into Panama, that Noriega issue. The first killed in action was my friend, James Markle. And that's the picture I painted to honor Markwell. The original
paint as well.
Oh, I have a graphic arts degree, yes, ma'am. The original painting still hangs in the Ranger headquarters, and that's the picture of it there. And if you get Markwell's room, that hangs above his bed and where he billeted. Now, every year on December the 20th, the Rangers honor Markwell. He was at my house on December the 18th, 1989, killed 30 hours later.
Well, Gary, I am truly, I'm becoming a huge fan of yours.
Oh, great.
After being here. And Michael and I have 11 grandchildren, and I would love to bring my boys in.
You bring them all here, and we'll do a really comprehensive tour. They'll love it.
Oh, good. So you actually schedule tour groups?
Yes. And generally, you know, when I'm going to have a group of people, I do the tours anyways. I'll do it personally myself.
I've been to museums before, but this is the first time I've ever been to a museum like this.
It's a different museum, and we're reasonably priced. And I'm the only museum, I think, in Savannah that does active duty for free. We give veterans rates. I give rates to any firemen, policemen, nurses, students. I mean, I just want people to come through the museum and enjoy it.
Well, I so appreciate it.
Appreciate you.
I appreciate it so much. And I'm going to send everybody your way.
Well, I'm going to give you my card, Paula.
Please, thank you.
Call me, and whenever you want to round up the troops. They all live in Savannah? Pretty much?
Except for one.
You're welcome to my museum.
But like I said, just the older boys, you know, the 4, 5, 6, 7-year-olds, they wouldn't.
Well, no, but anybody usually over 6, and everybody for kids and anybody under 8 is always free here anyways. Babies are free, and I even tell people, you know, if you bring your baby in, screaming babies are allowed also. Puppy dogs too.
Have you ever been in a museum like this one, y'all? I would say not. So Gary and I are signing off until we see you again. Love and best dishes, y'all.
Hey y'all, it's Paula Deen. Now, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like it and click the subscribe button as well as the notification bell to be alerted when I post a video. Love and best dishes, y'all.